And welcome back to another session of object-oriented programming using C++. My name is Himanshu Gupta, and today's session is going to be very useful for the beginners. Basically, in today's session, I want to revise the concept of classes, and I want to discuss what is class, what is the structure of class, and I want to take 2 3 examples using class so that the beginners can understand well what is the class, how we can write the classes. So let's start in the first problem. We have to create a rectangle class which will have two private member variables, length and width, and we will have we will have a constructor to initialize it, and we'll have a method get area, and also we'll uh, okay, that's all. We'll have these many members in the rectangle class. So basically, what is class? A class is simply the blueprint of uh, you know for object. It contains variables and methods. It closely tightly bind variables and methods, or we can say functions, together into a single unit. Suppose this is our rectangle class. In a class we can have many things. First of all, let me discuss about the visibility modes that I have already discussed in my previous videos, but to revise, we can have three visibility modes in our class. We can have private members, protected members, and public members. You see, by default all members are private. By default all class members are private. Private members can only be accessed in its own class. The member functions of the class can access the private members of the class, right? Protected members have slightly more uh, visibility than private members. They are accessible, can be accessed in its own class as well as in the subclass. Subclass means child class. And public members are accessible everywhere in the program. Everywhere in the program through the object, right? So if you are very beginners in the C++ course, I advise you to go through the class concept, because all the uh, in almost every example will be using class. So at least you should know how what is class and how we create the class and what type of members we can have in the class. So class can have three types of visibility modes: private, protected, public. As I have already discussed, by default every member in the class are private, and protected members have slightly more slightly better scope than private members. uh, the protected members can be accessed in its own class as well as in the subclass or child class, while the public members are accessible everywhere in the program using the object of the class. So in a class we can have private members like this. Let's declare length and width. We can have constructors like this. We can create constructor. What is constructor? A constructor is a special function that does not return anything, and the name of the constructor should be same like this as name of the class. Let's pass some variables x, y, and initialize the member variables. The another benefit of using constructor is that we do not need to explicitly call the constructor. Constructors are invoked automatically when the object of the class is created. So even if we forget to call the constructor, whenever we will need the object, the constructor will be invoked automatically. So that is the beauty of using constructor. We can overload the constructor. We have many types of constructors. So in a single program, we can have multiple constructors, and that scenario is known as constructor overloading. We can have default constructor with no arguments. We can have parameterized constructor. We can have copy constructor, etc. Now we are asked to, we have already initialized the member of this rectangle class. Let's create a function int get area. This will simply return the area of rectangle, and that's it. This is our class. Inside the class we can also have destructor. In this example we have not used because by default C++ supplies its own destructor. But if you want to print some message like object destroyed, or you are using dynamic memory allocation, in such type of scenario we should use a destructor to explicitly destroy the objects created. Now use int main. Inside main method, let's create the object rectangle r, and this is the object r. Sorry, I forget to pass the arguments. We have used a constructor, so when we create the object, its argument should match with the constructor. R is equal to inside this constructor we are passing 10 and 20 as length and width, and now we can simply print the area of rectangle is equal to r dot get area. So this is very simple and intuitive example. This very basic example. In this example, we have simply created a rectangle class. We have taken two member variable, private member variable. Then we have used a constructor to initialize them and used a method to return the area. Right. Now let's create another class, and in that class we'll see some variations. Now let's let's create a class circle. We'll take a private member radius, and we'll have a function get area. We'll also use a destructor in the program, and we'll also use default arguments in the program. That's it. Now let's create a class using the keyword class circle. This is our radius in the public section. Let's create two constructors. Circle, this is our default constructor. Let's initialize the value of radius as 0. This is our second constructor, int x. This is our parameterized constructor. We can also use the constructor initialization list for initializing the member variables like this r, x. So the benefit of using member initialization list is that using member initialization list, we can initialize the member variable of the class even before we are entering into the constructor body, right? So this is the another constructor. We can see, we can give some default value also to the uh, constructor member, like x is equal to 5, like this. I hope this is visible. So what is the benefit of giving default value? If we are not supplying, if we are not supplying the any value to the constructor, then it will take the default value, right? We'll see this in the example. Now let's create a method double get area and return 3.14 into r into r. So that's it. This is our class. This is our class. Let's write the main method in main. Now we'll create the object of the circle class, circle C1. See, in here we have not initialized, we are not passing any value to the constructor. So default constructor will be called. Default constructor will be called. And circle C2 say 10. Now this constructor will be called. Now let's print the area of both the constructors. See out area of circle is equal to C1 dot area, C1 dot get area I. Get area, name of function is get area I. And see out area of circle is equal to C2 dot get area. Return 0. So that's it. This is how we can use, different classes we can create, how we can create different classes. We can also use destructor in the class like this using tilde sign, and name of the class, this is our destructor. We can print something here like object destroyed. So if you use destructor in this example, if you add this two lines here in the program, then along with this output, along with this area of circle c1 dot area, we will also, this will also print object destroyed two times, because we have created two objects. So when these objects will go out of scope, uh, it they will call the destructor and this message will be printed, right? Now let's open our uh, compiler and let's code our examples. Class rectangle, very simple classes. Here in use int l w public, use a constructor rectangle int x is equal to, I am giving some default value here, and int y is equal to 20. I am giving some default values to the, and now l is equal to w, l is equal to x, w is equal to y, and int get area, and simply return l into w. In the main method, let's create two objects of class rectangle, rectangle r1. I'm not passing any parameter here, and rectangle r2 to suppose 20 and 20, right? And print area of rectangle is equal to r1 dot get area. Let's copy this line, r2 dot get area. Run this, and the output is 200 and 400. So basically here, when we have created uh, the first object, then we have not passed any value. So our constructor will take the default values. Our constructor will take the default values. Means this object will be initialized with the default values we have passed in the constructor, and 10 and 20. And in the second case, we are overriding the values using our new supplied values 20 and 20. So accordingly we get the results. If I use the destructor, we can use the destructor like this, rectangle cout object destroyed selection. Now run the program, and you can see, since we have two objects, we have created two objects. When the objects will go out of scope, the destructor will be called, and accordingly we are getting the two messages, object destroyed and object destroyed. Okay, so I think this video has cleared your doubts regarding how we create the class, and these examples have cleared your doubts, like how we can write the class, how we can create constructors and destructors and pass default values in the constructors. Okay, just a second. In this particular example, what we are doing, we have used the default constructor and the default values. So compiler will be confused which one to call in case we create the object without any parameter. So we can use either the, the default values or default constructors, right? So in this example, either we need to remove this one or this one. So we cannot, because you know when we have created this object, the compiler will be confused whether to call the default constructor or whether it will use the default values supplied in the parameterized constructor. So only one of them can be used. I'm sorry for this mistake. Uh, so, so thank you. We'll see you in the next video with some new topic. Till then, bye.